You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. There were comings and goings in LSU's defensive backfield here on Thursday. Let's start with the latest player to enter the transfer portal. Jaelyn Davis-Robinson, who was a three-star cornerback in the 2022 class, became the latest Tiger to enter the transfer portal today. He was a three-star, red-shirted this season. He was one of two cornerbacks LSU signed. It was LaTerrence Welch, Jaelyn Davis-Robinson. And then they also signed Jordan Allen out of Lafayette Christian, but out of LCA, but he converted to safety. So you had two cornerbacks in last year's class among the freshmen. Of course, you signed a whole bunch of transfers with Bernard-Converse and Mekhi Gardner and Colby Richardson, Sevyn Banks. But the incoming freshmen, there were two. It was LaTerrence Welch and Jaelyn Davis-Robinson. So Jaelyn Davis-Robinson out now. He's entered the portal after redshirting this year and probably saw the writing on the wall because of what's coming in for LSU. If you're kind of scoring at home now, LSU's portal numbers continue to rise. Besh, Demarius McGee, Radarius Jones, a couple of corners who had already entered the portal. Cole Taylor, Desmond Little, Colby Fields, Cam Wire, Derek Davis, Phillip Webb, Antoine Sampa. We talked about Marcus Dumerville, Xavier Hill. And now Jaelyn Davis-Robinson makes 13 in the portal. And you can look at LSU's numbers and realize why the other news LSU got on Wednesday was simply massive. Javion Toviano, depending on what scouting service you subscribe to, is either a 4-star or a 5-star. He's from Arlington, Texas, and earlier today at an announcement at his school, he had LSU, Texas A&M, Michigan, and Texas hats all on the table. And the video was in conjunction with Rival. So if you're watching us, that's what he's doing there. And he kind of psyched with a green hat and then ultimately picked up the LSU hat and chose the Tigers. He becomes LSU's 4th highest rated commit for this year's class. Behind the 25th commit overall. And behind only Lance Hurd, Shelton Sampson, and Deshaun Womack. If you look, depending on what scouting service you subscribe to or you look at the composite, whatever, he is rated by On3 as a 4-star. A 4-star, in the consensus, the 54th best player in the country, the 5th best cornerback in the country, and the 9th best player overall in the state of Texas. Of course, picked LSU over Texas, Texas A&M, Michigan, Georgia, and others. Had tons of offers. But this is so massive. A 6-foot, 185-pounder, a guy that everybody wanted. And it's so massive because of the numbers and how something like this, a player like this, allows you to reset, sort of begin to reset that position. Remember, you only have 2 cornerbacks currently on your roster, 2 scholarship cornerbacks currently on your roster. Sevyn Banks, who's basically been hurt for 3 years, and LaTerrence Welch, who redshirted this year. That's it. Those are your only scholarship cornerbacks for next year. Demarius McGee, Radarius Jones didn't play this year. They're in the portal. You're losing Bernard-Converse, Mekhi Gardner, Colby Richardson. Jay Ward played some corner as well. He's off to the draft. You are decimated at that position again, much like you were a year ago when Brian Kelly was hired. So you could look at it and say, man, look, you're destined to just repeat this cycle. Now you got to go back into the portal. You got to get numbers again, to get your numbers up in the portal. But in a year from now, all those guys are going to be gone again, except for landing a guy like Javion Toviano. And a week from now, LSU is going to have a hat on the table with Desmond Ricks, who's the highest rated uncommitted cornerback in the country. And a lot of people, you talk to people around LSU, they feel really good about getting Desmond Ricks. Okay, we'll see how it goes. We've heard that before. I mean, until the letter of intent is signed and faxed in, it's never a done deal till it is. But, with the early signing period about to start, these guys are making their decisions that would appear to be final at this point. So, but getting Toviano is so massive because, look, it doesn't eliminate the need to go into the portal and still get players, which LSU is going to have to do at corner because you're not going to go into this class, into this season with cornerbacks that include Sevyn Banks, who's been injured, LaTerrence Welch, who's a redshirt, and then these freshmen with Toviano, Dalen Austin, Jeremiah Hughes, and Ashton Samps. You'd have 6 corners, but the only one with any collegiate experience would be Sevyn Banks, who's been injured for basically 3 years. So you're going to have to go into the portal and get experienced players, okay? And that's fine. But when you get these dudes that are 5-star, top 5, corners in the country, you expect them to come in and play right away. They're not coming here to redshirt. They're coming here to play. And the reason that matters is because now you can go into the portal and get guys with experience. And you're also going to have these freshmen on the playing significant snaps for you, building their experience. So after next year, now you've got all of these young players who gained experience in 2023, and now they're young veteran players in 2024 and 2025. And then you look at the portal just as a way to supplement. If you need a guy or a really talented dude jumps into the portal and you have a chance to add him, great. But it's not like, man, you lost your top 4 corners this year and you got 2 on scholarship. You better go get a whole bunch, which was the necessity a year ago and quite honestly is necessitated now. But getting these high-level commitments like Toviano is just so massive. And then look at who you beat. I mean, we can all look at star ratings all the time. You can look at rankings. For me, the thing that's always the most impressive is when you get a guy, what other offers did he have? Who else wanted that guy? Were you beating out Georgia Tech and Texas Tech? Or were you beating Georgia and Texas A&M? That's way more interesting. And Toviano had them all. He had offers from all the big schools, and so does Desmond Ricks, who's going to make his announcement next week. But look, man, this was all necessitated because you lost Elias Ricks and Dwight McGlothern in the portal. If both of those guys played this year, you would never have had to go hit the portal as hard as you did last year, and you would have been able to cultivate that young talent behind them. But with them leaving, it necessitated using those spots on veteran guys and guys that were going to be one-year players. And so you're back in the same spot that you were, and that's just not sustainable. It becomes, they're fixing the problem with high school recruiting with guys like this. So it's a big, big get, getting Toviano today. And here's hoping next week LSU gets great news with Desmond Ricks as well as they start to rebuild DBU. Great job by Robert Steeples, the cornerbacks coach, and Brian Kelly. Of course, Sherman Wilson, who does your recruiting and sort of an off the field role, part of that staff as well, was said to have had a big impact on Toviano, which is great to see. So LSU gets a big one. That's the 25th commit for this year's class. Depending on what service you look at, they're up to as high as number 3 in the country, behind only Bama and Georgia, who are 1-2. So you're 3rd in the SEC, which is also 3rd in the country right now with 25 commits. Remember, no hard cap anymore. You can sign more than 25, but you just can't go over 85 on the scholarship number, the total scholarship number. So really, really significant day for LSU, for Brian Kelly, getting Javion Toviano committed today. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.